Hey guys, welcome back to the Dose Sports Podcast, and Ben and Charlie joining me today. How are you boys?
Pretty good, mate. Thanks for asking.
Good. Got the first win in Chuckers Multi.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, big one incoming tonight.
First of all, I want to give a big thank you to City Tattersalls Club for giving us the opportunity to broadcast here from the cafe here at 198 Pitt Street, and we hope to see many more faces here in the coming weeks. Also would like to thank our major sponsor Connection to Sports, which has written CNX2 Sports, ran by the great Luke Edmonds. Connection to Sports is a sports event management company that helps organisations build networks and relationships via sporting events. They are also members of the Corporate Concierge program here at City Tats. And secondly, our second sponsor, Scape. Scape is Australia's best and biggest student accommodation organisation in Australia across Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney, and thankfully have agreed to come on board. Many thanks and big shout out to Eels fan Stephen Gaetanis for supporting us three students here that are excited to welcome many more students like us to the podcast. Few fan shout outs. First of all, George's Meats in Cherrybrook. Raymond, the butcher there, he is wanting a shout out, so I'll give him a shout out. And my cousins Tim and Adrian are staunch listeners to the podcast, so hey boys.
Cheers, Timmy.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Love getting some loyalty in the followers.
Big podcast today. Michael Zerafa joining us
Very
shortly, which is exciting. Sticking on the theme of boxing, we'll get into Give Me a Dose. Give Me a Dose on celebrity boxing is good for the sport.
Celebrity boxing and YouTube boxing, I think it brings more bums on seats, which in that regard, it is good for the sport. It brings more eyes to the sport, but to the contrary, you could say it's a bit disrespectful for the people who've put all the time and effort into training camps and stuff like that. Yeah. Because you see all the celebrities get paid the big bucks when you could say they're not legitimate boxers and they're still getting paid a lot of money. And you see people fighting for world titles for nowhere near the amount. Yeah. So
I think the KSI Logan Paul fight that happened was gross more than the Anthony Joshua Ruiz fight, which is just crazy to think that's one of the biggest fights of all time.
Yeah, I don't know. Touched on it the other week. It's not. I don't know. If you're interested in watching the fight, then it's good fun. But really, I still think it can be detrimental to the sport. I'm much more excited to watch two professional athletes go at it 10 rounds and see what happens then, instead of watching a couple of blokes who maybe train for 3 weeks and then they just start learning technique and everything about boxing, just throw hands for a night, turn some cash. Yeah, so it's a bit toss of a coin for me.
It's almost like a fight, anything with like a backstory behind the fight. Like we saw with Jake Paul, he's taken Floyd Mayweather's hat. Floyd Mayweather's reacted all this.
Bit of really entertainment.
Yep. And that's probably going to create a lot more revenue for that fight just by the act he did. But I do think it's not really that bad for the sport if you can prove that there's no sort of dodgy business happening in terms of it, someone's diving or someone's being paid to lose or anything like that. Yeah. If that's not the case, then I don't see any problem with it.
Well, I was Floyd even in that fight. He doesn't need cash. And everything that's happening is just so disrespectful. Like, one of the poor guys goes, I've got your hat. It's like, grow up. Like, grow up, mate. Like, it's one of the best fighters of his generation. Like, 51-0, and he's still in his hat and saying, got your hat on a massive broadcast. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, not a big fan of Jake Paul.
We know how Floyd likes to spend his cash. He might little retirement fight.
Yeah,
it's Floyd Money Mayweather for a reason, mate. He's not in it. He doesn't need more cash, mate. He could go home and have bars in it.
Like. For sure. Second one, Paul Gallen has proven himself as a legitimate boxer.
Give me a dose.
Massive. You're all over this.
Yeah. So Mark Hunt, first retired MMA fighter, known for his brutal knockout. Polished him off, and then went to what people were saying his biggest challenge, legitimate boxer Lucas Brown. Had like 15 kilos on him, knocks him out in the first round.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, there's been some talk about it being Lucas Brown didn't train and stuff like that. If
that's true,
it's still he was Australia's probably most famous heavyweight.
Yep.
And he knocked him off in one round. So you would have to say Paul Gallen is a legitimate boxer.
Nah, not yet.
But
he's got what, Justice Hooney coming up. that's going to be
A piece of meat, according to
a piece of meat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Trash talking's already begun. I don't know. It's a pretty big call. We spoke about it with Terry and Nath a couple of weeks back. Like, Terry thought it was Korea, that Gal was going to get put to sleep, and it was going to be Korea done and dusted. No one else would want to fight him.
Well, I'm the one laughing now because I was the only one backed I was the only one that backed him, so...
Yeah, it was a bit surprising to see the way the fight went down and how short it was. But I don't know if he's in the level to call him a legitimate boxer. He's still, by his own admission, a prize fighter.
Yeah.
So give it a couple more bouts with people that are maybe still in their career instead of well into retirement or about to enter it after their fight with Gao. Then it's a bit more credible. Don't you reckon?
I think this fight coming up is telling because Hooney's he's not a bad fighter. Like
and you can argue like he's actually got something in terms of motivation. Like Lucas Brown was on the back end of his career, probably just wanted that last bit of cash before he could set sail.
Yeah.
And same as Mark Hunt, but Justice Hooney's only young, fighting in the Olympics.
When did they change the rule that you can't be professional to fight in the Olympics? I don't know when that happened.
Yeah, but you could argue like Hooney's got a bit of motivation there as well, because he's not going to stop fighting after he fights Gal. So he's still got, and I guess his reputation could be tarnished if he loses to Gal. So it'll be an interesting fight, and will definitely prove he is legitimate if you can get past him.
Perfect. Today we have a very special guest in Michael Zerafa, an Aussie boxer with a professional record of 28-4. Michael Pretty Boy Zerafa, born on the 25th of March 1992, had a naturally athletic talent from a young age. Before boxing, he had a promising future in AFL, however his passion for the ring took priority. Zerafa, trained since the age of 12, has racked up over 100 amateur fights. Zerafa, also known as Pretty Boy in the ring, fought Damien Hooper in the 2010 Commonwealth Games trials and won amateur Golden Gloves in 2011 before turning professional on his 18th birthday. After notching up notable wins over Jeff Horn and sending Anthony Mundine into retirement, he is now scheduled to fight the undefeated Tim Tszyu on July 7th at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, which has been sold out. The blockbuster fight is available live on pay-per-view on Main Event. Thank you, Michael, for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me, brother.
First of all, what got you into boxing and at a young age, and any other sports you play and still follow?
Look, I knew I could have that one fight and change my friends and family fight. I used to love the sport growing up, and we always watched it as a family. And I knew I could dedicate my life to the sport, and I knew I could mix it with the test. And I just fell in love with it and said, this is my dream. I want to be a world champion, and I never gave up. From the age of 7 years old to now, I've kept that dream, and the vision never changed. It's always been there. And obviously, I played local footy, and I got a high level of football as a junior. But then, the passion for boxing took over, and I just chased the dream.
Yeah, perfect. Who were the influential figures to you as a young boxer, and who did you idolise growing up?
As a boxer, I always watched Roy Jones Jr. He made the sport look beautiful. He was just an all-round phenomenal athlete. He could do it all. And I wanted to be like him, have my name up in the mind and just be exactly like him. But obviously, he's on another level than I am. But that's who I aspire to be like, and what I push to work towards.
Yeah, well, sure you make it there at that level soon.
Hey Michael, Charlie here. So you've now racked up over 30 professional fights. Has there been one most memorable in your career thus far?
I've had a lot of great fights. There's been a few that I always remember. Obviously, being Jeff Horn was a huge highlight of my career because everyone thought I couldn't do it. But obviously taking Carl Brooks, a former IBF World Champion, 12 rounds in his backyard and nearly winning was a huge achievement. So there's been a few fights, and obviously this next one with Kim Zhu is going to be a blockbuster. So I'm just super grateful that I was allowed to be a part of such events and fights in my career.
Thanks, Michael. Just Ben here. So obviously the last 18 months have been pretty tumultuous for everyone. Would you be able to give us a bit of an insight to the life of a professional fighter and athletes and how it's been kind of turned upside down yourself, how you kept yourself motivated and driven to get to your goal?
Like everyday varies. You've got to sacrifice pretty much your whole life. That's what I've done. Your teenage years, and obviously, I don't go out, I don't party, I don't drink, and you got all your friends that are going out doing that. You got early nights. Obviously early nights, early morning for training, late nights training. I'm actually on the way to the gym now, so I've been in Newcastle doing all my media stuff for the Tim Zoo fight. I've got off the plane and gone straight now to the gym to meet my team. So there's a lot of dedication and sacrifice that's involved. You can't eat the foods that you want to eat. And, I've missed out on being a kid, but, I just remind myself of the end goal, and that's being a world champion, and I truly believe it'll all pay off.
Yeah. So just having all your three most recent fights, obviously there's been 2 wins, one by TKO and a knockout against Anthony Mundy early this year. How much confidence has the results in those 2 bouts given you going into the Tim Zoo fight that you can go the distance with him and you can knock him out and get the result in your favour?
I've always stayed busy, that's the key, staying fit, staying hungry. And, yes, Tim Zoo's been a little bit more active than I have, but in saying that, I've fought a lot of high caliber of fighters. And during COVID, I was doing a 14-month camp, so there was no break for me. I was sparring, world-class opponents. I was, doing all the road work, I was doing all the boxing drills and training, strength and conditioning. So it didn't end for me. So to do, he's based me on that I haven't had much. I've got ring rust, but come fight night, it's all going to show.
Yeah, definitely. I know we're really excited for a show, and I just noticed in one of the recent presses, I said that Timmy should have signed the deal to fight you 4 or 5 years back, and I'm just wondering, do you think that Tim's been scared of this fight, and that's why he's been delaying it for so long?
Well, yeah, that's all for me and my team have started to believe, because there was so much talk with his end and from his team that he wanted to fight, that he was going to knock me out, and he had a 4-fight plan that I was in, and he fought 3 out of the 4. And when it was time to fight me, it was always like, oh, I've got this and I've got that, and I can't do this and I can't do that. So it started looking like he was a little bit, scared. And I heard today that he's sparring, much heavier guys because he's worried about my power. So, there's definitely a little bit of doubt there, and he's got a rematch clause as well. So there's doubt there definitely from his team, and I'm being the underdog. I've got nothing to lose in the game. So pressure's all on him.
Yeah, nice. And now we know Tim Zoo, he's undefeated and he's beaten his recent opponents with relative ease. What do you reckon you bring to the table that Tim hasn't seen before?
Look, Tim's doing every fight. Tim's growing. His early career, he was fighting guys no one's ever heard of, but he's proven himself in the last 2 fights. Beating Jeff Horn and Dennis Hogan, who are world-class opponents. They're probably definitely at the end of their careers, but you can't take that away from what they do. But going into this fight, I truly believe that it's all coming down to heart. Tim Zoo's never been in the trenches. He's never gone to deep waters, and that's the plan: to take him to deep waters and drown him. He stopped all his opponents, and that's a bad thing. It's not really a good thing to look at. It's also a bad thing when it comes to world-class fighters. You don't have the round. And everyone's talking about he's been active, but he hasn't had any wars. And I'm going to bring that out of him.
Yeah, nice. So with that, going on that, do we have a specific prediction for the fight, maybe a method of victory or when it happens?
As in a prediction for the fight?
Yeah, what round you're knocking him out in is essentially what we're asking.
Yeah, you guys can now. Look, I don't like to make predictions. I truly believe I can stop him early. I've got a lot of power. Out of my 28 wins, I've knocked out 18 of them, and I know he's worried about that. And, again, the pressure's on him. They've just named the stadium after him now, so there's even more pressure. And I think I can stop him early. But it's not going to be an insane fight, and I still think I'll take him the distance and win on point.
After this fight, what is next for you?
Look, I'll leave that to my team. But, there's been world title talk. There's been offers from overseas opponents. There's been a lot of great things, but, we want to see clean out our backyard because that's obviously what you got to do. When I fought everybody, I beat everybody here, and the only one that was left was Kinzu. But for me, I think an interim WBA world title, because I'm ranked highly in the WBA, or head overseas and base myself over there with some big promoter and get on the big undercard over there.
Yeah, so on that, with like all the COVID situation, are you planning on trying to wait around so an international boxer can come and wait the 2 weeks out here, or are you going to try and keep fighting the Aussie guys if that doesn't eventuate?
He's definitely going to stay active. I'm going to keep fighting. So hopefully all goes well with the new fight. And like I said, I want to be involved in the biggest and best fights. Win, lose or draw, I want to be involved in the best fights. And I'm a fighter. I want to fight the exciting fights and be the best you're going to beat yourself. That's what I want to do. So I keep staying active and fight everybody.
Thank you for your time, Michael, and hope to see you take victory against Tim on in the ring in Newcastle. And yeah, thanks for coming on again.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, that was Michael Zerafa. Bit of technical problems in the end, but
Bit of static, but I will. Thanks very much for him coming on. He hears this as a review of what he said. Hopefully Chuck didn't get under his skin too much. He was pretty keen on that. But yeah, thanks to Michael for getting on the call and everyone that organised that.
yeah, perfect. I think we'll move on to the usual segments. Strongy, your serve of the week.
My serve of the week is Magic Rounds. Magic Round in the NRL is absolutely miserable, and I'm completely off it. I think it's like a under 12s gala day, and you all go down to the park and you all play each team in the competition once, and you see who's the best team, and you get a trophy participation and you go home. The idea is flawed. I think it's asking for people to injure themselves on a surface that's played 8 games on in 3 days, and I just think it makes the NRL look like a mediocre organisation, mate. Like, that's what it is. Why are they doing it? The claim is that the game is so big in Brisbane, so why do they need to keep generating a revenue there in crowds? They already have it. Why don't they put it somewhere else where they actually can and need to grow the game, like another state maybe? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And they're going to bring another team there. Like, yeah, I'm a bit confused. Maybe the year the team comes in, I'd revisit the idea. But at the moment, I'm not sure on it.
I think it's really good, but I sort of get what your idea is, that in Brisbane it's sort of unnecessary. Maybe if you take it, well, where would you take it if you?
Where'd I take it? WA, Adelaide, New Zealand. You obviously can't do it this year.
Yeah.
Tassie, somewhere where they need to start growing a fan base and where they could implement another team, or they can move a team out of Sydney there. Right, I just don't think. Just in general, the idea is not that great. Maybe use it as a pre-season tournament like the Nines instead of the Nines. So that hasn't been much of a hit either, I don't think.
It's been pretty successful in the past.
Yeah.
Queensland are notorious for getting bigger crowds.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely generates a bit of revenue there for the NRL. And I think there's been more issues with playing surfaces across in like Sydney, say at Bankwest, where they play an A-League game or something and then back it up quickly with an NRL game.
Yeah, I think it's if it's back-to-back NRL games, it's all right, I think.
But that's a direct curator issue, like at that ground, and it's a new ground, and new grounds have their problems. I'm just saying, like, you're playing 8 games at Suncorp over 3 to 4 days. Yeah. You're asking for injuries.
But did they do it? I don't think it happened in the last 2 seasons.
I remember Roosters Dragons last year in the COVID year. I think that's when the Chooks did 2 of their ACLs, and it was straight after an A-League game that was played at Bankwest. So I think in terms of playing surface issues, I think that's unavoidable anyway with all the codes that are happening.
I like the idea. I mean, it brings a bit of something to the game, like something different. You sort of AFL have a lot of different rounds. I know that, but it's not specifically all games in one stadium. But they have a lot of different rounds. But Magic Round, I think it brings a bit of something to the game.
No, trivial.
Never give me a dose of that.
Do not rate it. Get out Vlandy's ball.
Yeah, no. Chucker, your multi of the week?
Yeah, had my team assemble a good one this round.
After coming off a win.
Yeah,
First win.
My theory is 0-2 to start, so I've gone... I'll
lost confidence.
Board, I'll go lower value. I've won last week, so I've got a Whopper. today.
Oh no.
Hungry Jack's Whopper. So, it's 5 legs.
Yep.
2 AFL, 3 NRL. Feel free to play around with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm giving you a license.
Yeah.
So I've got Sydney over Collingwood at a line of -20.5. So 3-goal win
Done.
at
4
home.
goal in. Yeah.
That's done.
Just
That's easy.
maths.
Yeah.
3 times 6 is 18. Feel
At home,
free.
though.
Yeah, at home.
It's happening. And then Brisbane over Gold Coast away from home. Same line, -20.5.
That-
Book it
that
in.
wins
Yeah,
again,
That's 2 free green tea.
Yeah, exactly. Next one.
Para over Warriors at -7.5. Souths over Cronulla, -8. Line there. And
That's another good
and
one.
Chooks 13+. Now, I'm not sure on the Chooks just yet.
They've got a
Well,
few.
you're placing it tonight. Once we
placing
finish recording, that's
Yeah,
going straight
well,
No,
on.
but see,
I've
you,
got-
you
I've
said
got to- I've got to assess.
you said new. You said bit of value. That's
Yeah, well,
got to be $1.40.
It's 31.32 power played. So
If that doesn't win, I don't know what wins.
If that's the one that loses, I'll probably cash out before then. If anything,
That's a good
100%.
multi.
yeah, so
That's a good multi.
get on it.
Get on it.
Yeah.
All right. New segment this week. Arjun's winners of the week. Moving outside of NRL and AFL. Roy McIlroy is my first winner of the week. First victory in 18 months. Injured on the Wednesday before his tee time on Thursday, and said if he had a Thursday morning tee time, he wouldn't have played. And comes out with a win. That's a monumentous effort from Roy. Second one, Man City and Chelsea, making it an All English Champions League final. That's the second one in the last 3 years after Liverpool and Tottenham. Who do you boys think wins that one?
Man City.
Man City.
hopefully Chelsea. I backed it at the start when I thought Lampard would get them there.
No.
Personally, I thought Lampard would be the man to make a challenge for the Premier League this year. I think it'll be a good game. I hope Chelsea win.
Yeah,
I can't
I
stand Man City. It's
Yeah,
like
no.
they're even worse. It's like 2 hungry money European clubs, and I can't stand it.
I think under their new manager, they've lost 2 games since he's come in.
Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been good.
Extremely
Still,
good.
Germans still can't score though.
No, Timo Werner's struggling.
Yeah,
Really
he's been
struggling.
real trash.
But it'll be an interesting game. And last winner of the week, Lewis Hamilton, winning in Spain and winning his 100th pole position. He might go down as the greatest driver. He might be better than Schumacher.
Well, that rule changes the myth.
Or
F1.
F1.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What was that rule change with Nashi?
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Nashi.
I think that comes in later.
I'll
the
still
sprint
back. I'll
race.
still back myself as the best driver to ever grace the surface. So
Not a chance. Not after
should
coming
take
today.
see me take a roundabout, fly through it.
That's good. The NRL rundown.
Bit of review, preview, Chucker. Favorite Seggy.
Favorite segment.
Johnny, how'd your tips go on the weekend, mate?
Oh, I did alright.
Did you?
Yeah, did you?
No.
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 What'd you get?
I think 5 out of 8.
5 out of 8 again.
Yes, Chucky, you got 5 out of 8 this week. I think.
Chuck got 5 out of 8 last. What do we get this week, Chuck?
I had 7.
And I got 6.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I
So
think
you're
Archie's playing the
stone,
chasing game
I'm playing the
too early.
yeah
you're
too early.
stone cold last, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went Knights. That was a win.
You did say you were going to release a public apology.
I will. I am sorry to all the fans out there for my tipping. It's been atrocious. But
been.
seriously, Broncos, how they not win that game? That was my other tip that went down.
I know we're about to go over it, so
Yeah, we'll get to it.
dissect why.
I'm off it. First game, Strongy, you want to take us through that one?
First game, no one saw that coming. What were we saying? I
Southie
said
Melbourne.
Melbourne would win by 4 in a tight one. Josh Adokar, 6 tries, first person since 1950 to score that many tries in a single match in first grade. Think they rolled through South very easily. Pack dominated. Welchie was big, 184 run meters.
Yeah.
That's huge by even his standards this year.
To be fair, we might give a bit of leeway to Souths. No Reynolds, no Murray, no
Yeah,
Kramer,
but
no
Crimea
Latrell.
River, they're a top 4 team. Like,
Yeah.
that's not acceptable. Like, if you want to follow the stats, 50 points conceded, they're out of the
Yeah, they
conversation.
don't win it.
May as well hang up the boots.
Yeah.
All the boys just gone Mad Monday now.
Yeah.
No point.
I'd
There's
argue
no point.
you were seeing something like this coming with South, not to the extent of a 50-0 loss, but with all their injuries they've had, and they're looking pretty disappointing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I was expecting like around a 12 to 16 point win for the
No.
Storm,
Yeah. Blew them out the water.
but 0.
They got pumped. They didn't even look in the contest at all.
Is it showing the value of Adam Reynolds? That's
I think it's helped his
I don't
case,
think- no.
really.
yeah.
I mean,
Last time I checked, Adam Reynolds defend on the right wing, so
That
probably
is
not.
true. Yeah, no, that is true.
We know Wayne Bennett's usually a masterclass coach. I mean, Dane Gagai led in 6 tries, and I don't know if you look at those efforts, they were absolutely appalling.
Yeah, they
Like,
weren't
Dane
great.
Gagai looked like a reserve grader on the wing.
Yeah,
It's pretty bad.
Going from one halfback in Reynolds to the
the other.
opposition one, Jerome Hughes.
Criminally underrated.
He
I
is
love
so
Jerome
underrated.
Hughes.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him. 1 try, 2 try assists, line break, 2 line break assists. He's so good.
He's-
He's the
To
second best
think
half in
he,
the comp.
he was a fullback 2 years
It's
ago.
incredible. He's like a makeshift.
Yeah, but he's a
halfback.
gun. He's
He's
so
gun.
good, and he must complement each other very well. So, look, Melbourne premiership favourites if
I
they
think
stay
so.
fit.
I think
No,
so.
not, you can't say they're premiership favourites.
I think they're
Why
better.
not?
They should have beaten
I think-
Penrith.
I think
That's a drubbing
there's
of a top 4
teams.
team.
There's 3 teams circling at the moment.
No,
Don't say
no,
Para.
Well, I'm
two
saying-
So
teams.
it's
There's 2
Panthers
teams.
and
Melbourne.
Storm.
Yeah.
I
No.
disagree, but
Anyway.
Yeah, well, you're a nuffy, so don't talk.
Next game, Penrith v Sharks. I think you're on this one. 48-0.
No,
Oh, you're on.
I was.
Oh.
Oh, everyone, you
Yeah,
guys all watched it.
alright.
I mean, I said I thought Sharks would win by 4 tries. Panthers would win by 4 tries. That was another demolition. We harping on about the Sharks letting go of Morris and the dressing room being lost, just to the club as a whole. That result just shows it further that it looks like the team just doesn't
They
want to be there. They just got
They wrote off their
absolutely pumped.
season as soon as John Morris left. Like,
Yeah.
Mm.
Why? And so early into the season, I think there's going to be serious questions raised about administration if Craig Fitzgibbons doesn't come in and fix the mess in 18 months.
I didn't.
Right now, it's like it's club at crisis.
I mean, they did show what they had it in them in the first 3 weeks or the first 4 weeks until
Yeah.
Bomber left.
And
But
even last week, still first half against Melbourne.
they were very good.
But then got
first
blown
half.
off the park.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But James Fisher-Harris had been a pretty quiet start to the season. I thought by his standards from last year, he was probably the most damaging prop in the game. Last week, turned out 1 try, 1 offload, 6 tackle breaks, 198 metres. I think that's in about 55 to 60 minutes on the field. So it was a huge performance. And then Cleary's just running the show again. I think probably the most impressive thing about that is that he had 144 run metres.
Yeah.
And we've just seen that part of his game develop as his body's developed over time.
How about that little flick pass to Luai?
Yeah,
That
he's
was-
pretty
that was-
filthy.
oh.
Oh, that was so.
He's a bit of a class above at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's if you in terms of like positions and who's the best player in their position. Everything is controversial. Like you can throw up some legitimate
Fullback,
options for
yeah.
the best player in their position.
No,
Nathan
no
Cleary
debate.
is undoubtedly the best halfback in the comp.
Yeah.
Like
By far.
Oh, I mean, Jerome
Jerome
Hughes.
Hughes is-
Jerome Hughes has a premiership one,
Oh.
and Nathan doesn't.
Yeah.
They played each other in a granny.
No,
So
but
you're saying
Well, I don't
Jerome
know.
Hughes is better than
I'm
Nathan
saying Jerome Hughes is underrated, and if he was talked about in the same way Nathan was talked about every week, 'cause Nathan looks like the NRL's like poster boy. Like, and then it would be a different story. Maybe people would think Jerome's better. So
Yeah.
I think that's
I think-
2 best 7s in the comp
yeah,
at the moment.
They are the 2 best sevens.
Unless
but,
you want to say Mitch is.
No.
You reckon
Oh,
Mitch?
no, I'd throw a Mitch in there.
Oh,
Oh,
no. Okay. Talking about Mitch Moses. Power v Roosters. Your boys taking the dub.
I think like the incompetence of the NRL bunker has kind of taken away from Parramatta's win. There's that play just before half time where Niokore got Tedesco in the head and Dylan Brown copped Drew Hutchinson in the ribs there with his knee.
Yeah, I'm not sure how.
I don't know.
that
Yeah,
got
how
through.
that didn't get called up is a joke, but people are saying, "Oh, Roosters are robbed," and
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't robbed.
No,
No, Para dominated
yeah,
90% of the game, really. If Roosters kept themselves, like, Para just kept the door ajar for the Chooks, and they took advantage of it. What was it, 24-18 at one point?
That's
They let it get a bit too close.
yeah. That game was never.
yeah.
in
When you
Roosters'
think
favour.
Para had 65% possession, 70% territory, and I don't know what it was, but it was a bucket load of tackles in there, 22.
Yeah.
Not too many in our
In the
20.
Roosters, yeah.
And we're up by 12 or less for most of the game.
Yeah.
Is it concerning Para's attack? Is their attack an issue? Or?
I think we'll see
No.
when they play Penrith or Melbourne again. I think the test for every good team fighting for the premiership is playing Penrith or Melbourne. They're just a class above at the moment.
Yeah.
Cardi Party returned.
Brycey Cartwright.
He's been reinvented.
Yeah.
Penrith.
Fourth time in his career as well. He's, 27?
I think, but he's found it. He's found his place now. I think.
Yeah.
with Isaiah Papali'i as well, reinvented themselves.
Like the Pat Cartwright Opicic trio for 500k.
That's good cap
Yeah,
management.
it's good call. Very good by the club.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Now the concern is Parramatta. Their attack is very lateral.
Yeah, it's
It's
super
bit-
flat.
It's a bit weird that people are saying they're lacking patience. No, they're showing patience, but they're also like going. So
They're just going
lateral.
too side to side. Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to get a judge until they play.
Penrith and Melbourne. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Next game on the Saturday, I called it, boys. I called it. Canberra v Knights. Knights bouncing back after a 16-0 lead blown. Where does Ricky Stewart go from here?
I think goes out the door to another club. If
Nah.
the season keeps going, like I think the only thing that's going to save, I don't know, even their runs not easy. They got the Dogs this week, and then a couple tough
Souths and
opponent.
Storm,
Yeah,
I
it's not easy. It's not going to get easier
Yep.
for Canberra. The only thing is they're 2 points outside the 8.
Yeah.
So if they can just keep adrift of the 8, then maybe that'll be a bit of a shining light for them if they get in. But they look so mentally gassed.
Yeah.
A couple of people brought up the idea maybe they're physically not there as well. They haven't had a good preseason because 93-8 second halves this season. It's just been a demolition derby in the second half against the Raiders. Like you could be down by 40 points, you'd still back yourself to come back.
Yeah.
I think that's an attitude thing. If your second half record is that poor the last 5 games.
I think it's both. Like there's no denying if you're giving up that many points in the second half, you're probably unfit, and then you're not switched on after half time. It's a bit of complacency,
I'd
I
argue
reckon.
at that level, fitness should not be an issue.
but it is an
Especially
issue. You
under
still
a
have to
Ricky
be
Stewart
fit.
team as well.
Yeah.
It still is.
It's
Like,
sort of like
Yeah.
reminding me of Broncos last year, where their second half was just lost them the game every week.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't say it's a fitness thing. Like all teams are going to be fit. Raiders, they were a premiership heavyweight in the preseason. And with Ricky just like come out publicly to say there's no culture issues in our team, that sort of reeks of actually is a culture issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just sounds like
Yeah.
it's full of shit. Like, let's be honest. If you have to come out and say it, there probably are.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't want to. He wants to keep the players away from the spotlight at the moment. Well, then John Bateman came out and said that Georgie Williams is on the move and wants to leave the Raiders. So
Yeah, it's a basket case down there at the
yeah,
moment.
it's not going well.
Yeah.
I've learnt my lesson.
Tipping the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
You're not tipping it.
stick with
Oh
them.
gosh.
Stay clear of the Raiders. Your boys
Tigers Gold
let me
Coast.
down. I've tipped him. And
Yeah.
they let me down.
I don't know. I thought it was always going to be like that in this game. There was going to just be a point marathon. Whoever
Yeah.
scored the most points went through. I think all the wingers were good. Besides
Nova.
Cheney.
Yeah.
Zach Cheney didn't show up for his second game, which
Yeah.
was incredibly disappointing. About 5 errors in the first half, but not for 2 tries, his 2 line breaks, 8
Yeah.
tackle breaks, 229 metres.
If he
Then-
moved to another club,
He won't move.
yeah, but imagine things he could do at another club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what? He's
He's a
not
premier
leaving.
winger. He's a premier winger.
Yeah, his best winger in com. He's not leaving.
He's not the best winger in the club.
Well, he is.
Okay, I'd say To'o and Adaka.
Would you?
Yeah.
I think Adokar's 6 tries on the weekend and the first 6 he scored all season. So, but then Don was really good. He keeps getting better. He's coming up to be one of the most capped Titans of all time.
Yep.
And he only debuted for the club when he was about 25, 26. It's pretty impressive. And then
Yep.
Philip Salmoni's starting to show glimpses of what he showed through the start and the middle of last season, which is pretty good.
Yep.
I was surprised that David Fafita was so quiet.
Yeah.
And
in the last 2 weeks, he's been pretty nullified.
He was nullified well by the Tigers. They did well. I think both teams are just leaking points, and that's how they're playing at the moment.
Yeah.
But I definitely thought there were some misses by the referee in the game that there was one point where there was a forward pass, 100% forward pass thrown on the left edge as the Titans went in.
Don't get me started on forward
It's
passes.
they need to
in the
bring
NRL.
tech. There's so much technology in it. Just bring it in the game, get the calls right, because clearly the NRL refs are that incompetent.
Yeah. Do you think how Gold Coast and their like inability to blow out teams the last 2 weeks with the start they have,
Yeah.
is that an issue?
It is an issue. I mean,
It's defense.
once again, as we've seen when they played better quality teams like the Rabbitohs, when they have the fast start and don't back in the second half, they've given up wins and those 2 points that they should have secured. So it's an issue. But like I said last week, the Titans are not like a Sharks in terms of they both could Sharks last season where they both would have finished 8th. I'd say since Titans have the ability to beat high up teams, but also are very volatile in terms of playing that bottom team. So
Well, that was always going to be the problem this year, is consistency. You bring so many new players in, like they're not going to gel straight away, and they're not going to gel for 80 minutes every game. So they got a win, which is what they needed, but it was another high scoring affair, which is really what they wanted.
Do you think it's just a matter of them being complacent, or
No,
is there something deeper?
It's just a fact they've only been together for like 6 months. There were there's been mass changes at the club over the last 18 months in terms of their roster, who's playing where, and like they just need more time to gel.
Yeah.
Pretty normal. They've got a lot of players that are about to enter their prime as well, so I wouldn't be worried if I was.
Yeah.
I think Titans make the 8 confidently. I'm confident in that.
Yep.
Next game, Saturday night, 7:30. Thought it wasn't going to be a good one. Surprisingly entertaining. Cows v Broncos in a thriller. Turning back the clock, really. 19 to 18. Cows getting up. Carl Fell, what a great try. He scored in that first one. Don't know how he got that one down.
What was the headline you wrote for it? Do you want to just read it out for the
Go Gadget Arms.
Go Gadget Arms?
No,
where did that arm pop out from?
I don't know.
It was
He
pretty
had
good
four
effort,
people on
mate.
top of him.
He's a good winger, and he's.
I was very.
Think of that image where it's like the grave and then the hand. popping out.
Yeah, no, it was good. I was very impressed by Jake Clifford. He came back and he made the match-winning play, realistically, making that breakdown and setting up a Taumalolo try.
Taumalolo was back in form as well. 223 run meters and a try as well, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but
Particularly with like the minutes Payton is offering him. I think it's
50 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think long term it's a pretty good thing they're doing, because they've always been, especially without JT and now Michael Morgan, they've been so reliant on JT, and it's sort of teaching them that.
Yeah,
There's more to a footy team than a good lock.
Yeah,
I'm a bit confused what's going to happen with Jake Clifford, because I think he's decent and he can develop into a good halfback, but what's he going to do at the Knights next year? Because clearly Kurt Mann and Mitch Pearce work, and Mitch Pearce is staying at the club. So where does that leave Jake Clifford? Just biding his time in reserve grade again? Because that's partly why the reason he's not playing at the Cows is because they know he's not going to be there next year.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the situation is. I would say just widen it, because there's a few clubs, there's like a circle of halfbacks going different clubs. One, they could just do it now, like realistically, because there's a lot of injuries, and it would benefit both clubs, but I don't think that
I think it's because Toddy's so unset on what his halves are and what his spine is. He's got Reece Robinson that looks like the long-term 9. What's his name? Curly-haired bloke, premiership winner. Granville's out the door.
Yeah.
Seems like Val's going to play fullback, and seems like Scotty Drinkwater may play centre, and so will the PNG fella, Habisi Fido.
Yeah.
Tabua, the hammer.
The hammer. He'll play centre as well, or on a wing. So I think there's some moving pieces at North Queensland.
I think, and with Broncos, in my opinion, their halves, they've million halves combinations they've tried.
They found it.
I think they found it.
They found it. Even though Tyson Gamble, he's not a halfback per se, but it's somehow what the team needs.
What do you mean he's not a halfback? I don't get this call. Have you watched Tyson Gamble play? He's a halfback.
Yeah, I know, but he hasn't got the frame for a halfback.
Yeah, but
what do you mean? Is Jerome Hughes pretty like Cameron Munster?
No, I'm talking about tall, big, like 190. He's 190 centimeters.
Yeah, that's what I think is like normal height, though.
Okay, all right.
So I don't know what you boys are about.
No, but looking at it, Broncos should have put that game away.
All jokes aside, it's good signs for both teams.
Yeah,
good. It is good, but yeah.
Both on the rise.
Who do you think will be better next year? Cows or Bronx?
I think Broncos.
On the rosters that they have at the moment.
I still think Broncos.
Broncos.
Cows.
All right. Anyway, next match, Manly v Warriors. Tommy Turbo's the best player in the NRL at the moment, I would say. No, what is it? 5 line breaks, 2 tries, 4 try assists, and 235 metres. What a performance. Like, without him, they don't win.
Poor team, small team bully, that's what he is at the moment. Tommy's waiting to turn up against half decent side. I'd say Manly going in the season, I thought their problem would still be the depth, which it showed it was. They don't have depth in certain positions, and now he's come back. I still had Manly above the Warriors, and I think that is the case with the Manly's best start in 17. And the second rows they have, I know they've got a couple injuries around there, but that seems to be one of the areas they actually have got depth. But yeah, don't be surprised that Manly beat the Warriors though.
Why was Reece Walsh not starting?
Because Channel
Nathan
Harris
Brown-
Tavita is a more established
Nathan Brown to me
six.
is like still learning on what to do with him,
Yeah.
and because CHT is back,
Yeah.
I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I
Like Reece Walsh
Yeah.
is
I
the
can see-
19-year-old
I can see
freak.
Reece Walsh filling in for RTS when he leaves next year.
yeah, for
Straight
sure.
away.
Yeah, that's
For
what
sure.
will happen probably. But they were questioning. He came on with 20 minutes ago, and Nathan Brown said publicly, he was like, "Oh, I got the call wrong. Like he should have come on earlier in the game or at a more pivotal point."
Yeah.
But I just think like at 14, that's probably where he's going to sit for most of the season. Even though some were saying he and Cody were building a good combo, I think CHT is a good six and
Yeah.
can be a six going forward for the club. So there's not room for both of them in the six jersey or in the halves.
No.
One's going to have to play fullback, albeit at 14.
Last game, absolute belter of a game. Dragons v Dogs. Flanagan dropped at half time. What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, I can't remember if it was a 6 again or off a set piece, but Flano, it wasn't on at all. He decides to do like a little crossfield kick chip thing to
Yeah.
his winger that was completely marked on first tackle.
Yeah.
If I was Trent Barrett there, I would have lost my shit. And I think he did. He's been dropped this week.
Yeah.
And when they're averaging 10 points a game, it's probably
Something's got to
warranted.
change. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but Avarillo and Wakeham at
That is
7
the
and
worst.
6. That's like I'd rather see Lewis in there just because he's Wally's
Yeah.
nephew. Who knows? He could unearth a gem. He's probably played like 30 games. I'd rather see him in.
yeah.
But I think it's a bit rough. You got to back Flanagan. Like if this is going to be the season where the Dogs bottom out,
You just got
then
to
let
back.
Flanagan just bottom out with the team and be like, yeah, we hit rock bottom already. So let's go next year when you have Burden, Adokar, you got a full strength team.
Yeah.
I'm still really concerned about Corey Allen signing on 600k playing centre, not doing too much.
Yeah, he's
That's the
not.
biggest
It
concern.
stuns me.
I'm
Like,
not worried about Flanagan not turning up because he's young. He's younger than Corey, I think, and he's less experienced in a big stage. But
Yeah.
it's a bit worrying.
It's almost amusing how like much money they spend on their outside backs when
Their problems in
they're-
the spine.
in the halves.
Yeah.
And at
Don't have money
9,
there.
at 9,
They've got no.
like Katoa and Jerry Marshall King, like they're doing their best, but really the money's. I don't think the money's been spent well when you start targeting outside backs as a go-to. Like what you need a good forward pack to get up the ground. You can't score tries from your own 20 meters.
Yeah.
All right, let's give our tips of next week.
Actually, you should go first. I reckon
right.
you go through the whole
Okay.
all your tips just so you can't steal
Yeah,
ours.
right. Right. Knights over Tigers, Manly over Broncos, Raiders over Dogs. That was actually a lot tougher than I thought it'd be. Souths over Cronulla, Chookies over Cows, Power over Warriors, Melbourne over Dragons, and Panthers over Titans. I think that's
Question on everyone's lips: are you going to get more than 5 tips right this week?
that's. I mean, I think it's pretty easy this week for sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Easy.
Wait, you say Knights over Tigers?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's all right.
All right.
Who's Melbourne playing? I reckon Dragons beat the Melbourne. Nah, I reckon Tigers win. Tigers win 1-12. Chuck, what do you reckon that game?
Knights win 1-12.
All right, Nuffy. Manly Broncos. Manly, another dominant display. Win by 3 to 4 tries. 16 plus points.
I reckon it's going to be a belter.
Nah.
Honestly.
Nah.
I reckon it's going to be close.
Oh my god.
Nah, I reckon
I'll tip Manly, but at Suncorp,
Manly win.
it'll be close. I reckon Manly 1-8.
All right.
1-8. All
Next
right.
one.
Dogs.
Dogs Raiders. Oh, I don't want to tip Raiders again, but I have to.
You have to.
Raiders.
12 Raiders.
Raiders. No, Raiders 13 plus. I reckon Raiders blow the doggies off the park.
Yeah. Cronulla Souths.
Souths.
Yeah.
South 13 plus.
Roosters Cows.
Chooks.
Chookies.
Chookies easy.
13 plus.
Para Warriors.
Para.
Para 13 plus.
Melbourne Dragons.
Oh,
Storm.
mate, the Heartsane Dragons. Nah, Storm win comfortably
And then Panthers over
for a
Tigers.
free JDP.
Okay.
Oh god.
Now, last segment, our AFL preview. Richmond v Geelong. I think you're on that game.
Yeah, Richmond v Geelong. That was an interesting one. You know, I think there are a couple question marks over both teams about how they can sustain their effort for 4 quarters, and found out that Geelong wanted to turn up in the second half and they wanted to blow the cats out of the water by 60 points when it didn't really seem that was the way
Yeah.
the game was going to go. I think some teams are finding finding ways to finally shut down key players. And Dusty got tagged on the weekend, had 20 touches, wasn't very effective with the ball, and Tom Stewart took him out of the centre clearances and did a ridiculously good job. Not only did he tag Dusty out of the game, essentially, he also had 26 and was really effective with ball in hand. So I think that's really promising, and that's a good blueprint for other teams going forward, is that they can send someone to Dusty, maybe a big body, and don't take him at the centre bounces, just go with him around the ground.
Yeah. I thought looking at last week, Richmond bouncing back against the Doggies, I thought they're on here, but second weekend.
I still think they're going to be. They're not going to be as good. I don't think they'll make the top four. Yeah. If they do, it'll be fourth maybe.
Yeah, but just off the pace this year.
Hawkins, Rowan, and Cameron combined for 15 goals, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So we're talking about that tip during the week. My tip that
at the beginning of the season,
Geelong win the comp.
That
Jeremy
would
Cameron or Tom Hawkins win the Coleman.
Yeah.
And I said Dusty will win the Brown. Danger will win the Brownlow. Danger can't win the Brownlow. So that's the only thing. Yeah. But I still think
Hawkeye should
going against the Swans. I just don't think they have it in them. But could be a good tip come September.
GWS Essendon. It was on. You on this?
Yeah,
game?
I was. It was another really good cracking game. Yeah. Jacob Hopper slots the goal that wins the game in the last 30 seconds. Yeah. Only for Cole Langford from Essendon to go back and slot another goal to bring it to about 107, 105.
That's a thrilling game.
And that was a thriller. Like you wouldn't really expect that game, a shootout.
Yeah.
And instead it was a bit of a game in inches and everywhere. You look at the stats and it's basically even going through every stat for inside 50s, rebound 50s, tackles, marks, etc. So it's pretty impressive. And we saw the midfielders dominate as well. Darcy Parish was exceptional again. So was Zach Merritt. And then for GWS, Taranto and Kelly stood up. And Tom Green, the young draft pick from last year, had a blinder 28 touches. So it was really impressive. Good game of footy.
Yep. Next game, Suns v Saints, big final quarter to bring them back in. Your thoughts on the match?
I thought Saints held out for the win. It's impressive. Look, the Saints have been on a bit of a rollercoaster season, not where everyone thought they would be.
Yep.
So to get another win on the board, keep going against what the critics have been saying the last couple of weeks, it'll do them a lot of confidence. Gold Coast, on the other hand, will feel like that's a game they let slip.
Yeah.
I think the Saints are a better team. Yeah, I think Gold Coast are probably playing better footy coming up to it after beating Sydney and Collingwood. So I think they'll be disappointed about it. But Stewie Dew will probably be happy with how the team's progressing.
Yeah.
The big man.
North Collingwood, game of the round.
Game of the round.
Love that. Game of the round.
Just quickly mention something that caught my eye. Zerha out of bounds. He was like 30 metres out for going for goal. He dropped it wrong. And it was like a complete shank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, called deliberate. Yeah, that was a howler.
Probably the worst call of the year.
Worst call I've seen in my life. It was
nothing else
awful.
much to comment.
Jane Stevenson said he was copping it a bit.
Yeah, against his former club, he was just, from what I saw, coming off second best in most contacts he was involved with. So.
Well, I think he had 18 touches, kicked 2 goals too. Not as big an output as he had in other games.
Given to him.
Yeah, small fault. But Jordan De Goey kicked 6. Had an absolute night out on Aiden Bonner. I don't know what the idea was there. Aiden was like a top 15 draft pick 4 years ago. He's played like a handful of games. Jordan De Goey rebounds after a lot of comments about him in the media the last couple of weeks. Take it how you will, though. It's North.
Yeah.
People think De Goey's worth $1 million. He's probably trying to prove it. I wouldn't really care if he kicked 6 goals against North. Yeah. Wouldn't be too fast.
Next game of the round, your boys going down to the Demons.
Good game.
Yeah,
it was a good game. It was dewy, and I think that played in the Demons' hands a bit. And Buddy coming back from 3 weeks out, Rampy out, Rampy coming back, and then Isaac Heaney out. It kind of looked like the Swans were lacking that bit of extra acceleration and excitement going inside 50 that Isaac usually brings, and Buddy wasn't because he's just had so much time out of the game.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of key takeaways with it edged out the ruck battle over Hickey. So Hickey's probably been the most informed ruckman in the competition next to Gawn. And I think in that last quarter, that last 15 minutes, Gawn really took the game away from Hickey and started just dominating him around the ground.
For sure.
But also on that, Sydney just couldn't contain Clayton Oliver and Petrarca around the stoppages and around the centre bounce. Clayton Oliver had 35 disposals and Christian Petrarca had 28, 1 goal, 1 as well. So they were really dominant in the midfield.
For sure. Chucker, all you, mate.
Port Adelaide West.
So Port over Adelaide in the Adelaide Derby, the showdown.
Derby.
So basically Marshall's got 3 goals. Travis Boak with 28 disposals.
That was
big
And
big
game
game
for
for
him.
Bakey.
Massive game.
Yep.
And are Port Adelaide firming as premiership heavyweights?
That's
No, I
man.
love how you boys look at me.
You're the AFL expert
they're
on
on
this one.
there. I mean, last week was pretty disappointing. I don't think this is a game to be like, oh, that's a huge like bounce back. I think two teams at complete opposite
bad.
ends of like where they're at as a group. I think Adelaide are going to improve over the next couple of years. I think this is Port's time to win the premiership. So give them another week. Port play the Dogs. So I think this will be where you can test Port and see like,
for sure.
are they genuine contenders? Can they knock the Dogs off the pedestal that they're on at the moment?
Yep. Hawks v West Coast. West Coast too classy for the Hawks in the end.
Yeah, win their first game away from home.
Yep.
Shout out to James Warple and Tom Mitchell. 2 huge games for Hawthorn.
41 disposals.
41 disposals.
That's massive. That is massive.
Yeah.
Next game, Dogs v Blues. 6 goals in the final quarter from the Dogs. Sealed the deal. Didn't really see that coming looking at that game. But Harry Mackay, 4 goals, and Eddie Betts turning back the clock. What are your thoughts on his performance?
Thought Eddie was really dominant, and it was kind of what Carlton needed. It needed another player to start kicking some goals next to Harry, because Harry's had a couple really huge weeks. In fact, like a really big month of footy, kicking a lot of goals. So it's good to see that Eddie goes with him.
Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned with how David Teague used his rotations. Paddy Crib spent the first 7 minutes of the second half off, which is where the game swung, and then in the final quarter, Cribs only spent 98 seconds off the ground.
Yeah.
So he played 28 minutes out of a possible 29.
Yep.
And he's not a player with a tank like that. So there were a couple of questions raised about how to use Cribber. And I don't think you want to have your best player running out of gas or sit on the bench for 7 minutes straight. You've got to find a happy medium.
No.
And when you lose, when you have 6 goals kicked against you in the final quarter, you kind of got to question if the Blues have got that real relentless winning attitude, and I just don't think they're there yet. No. But I think it's all credit to the Doggies to come back like that. That's incredible. Good game.
And last game of the round, Lions v Freo. Lions getting up 95-71. Freo, they were good to win the ball, but they just couldn't find a way to score. And they kept Walters at bay as well. Yeah,
I think Walters has been an interesting one. He missed the first couple of weeks, and a lot of the work, a lot of the workload was put on David Mundy, Nat Fyfe, Caleb Sarong, and Andrew Brayshaw.
Yep.
Angus Brayshaw? One of the two.
Angus,
yeah. So I think Walters wants to come back and have a bit of a bigger impact. It may take him a couple more weeks to get into it. But it's good. Another good win by the Lions, and they're starting to improve. They are improving. So they're showing that they want to be in that top 4. They want to have a home final, and that they want to go deep in September. So it's good for them. But I mean, if Nat Fyfe can kick straight, then Freo maybe win the game.
Win the game, yeah. All right, Strong, you wrap us up with your tips. Just rattle them off.
Geelong 1-39. Swans beat Collingwood.
Yep.
Buddy kicks a bag. Then has one after the game as well. And then Hawks versus North. I think danger game here. I think Hawks and North. If the Hawks lose, it's a big setback for where they are at a team. But North have been improving for weeks, for the last 2 weeks. So danger game for the Hawks, but I'll go back them there.
Mm-hmm.
Lions will beat Gold Coast in the Q Clash.
Yeah.
Hopefully see Charlie Cameron, Joe Danaher.
Is this your rattling off, is it?
Yeah.
This is. Yeah, it is, mate. You got a problem with that? And then Richmond v GWS. Richmond dominate young GWS side.
Mm-hmm. Port Dogs, that's an interesting game.
Port win at home.
Yep.
Yeah, Port win at home. I reckon it could be a thriller. Essendon beat Freo.
Yep.
Demons Blues. Demons win.
Yep.
And West Coast spank Adelaide.
All right, perfect. All right, that'll wrap us up. Thank you for everyone to coming out, and thank you to Michael as well, and to joining us on the podcast, and also thank you to our major sponsors, City Tats, Connection Sport, and Scape, and we'll see you guys in the near future.
Remember, you can catch the fight July 7th.
July 7th.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.